Hey man, these look like one of them. It's like one of those videos when they be cave exploring, going through the cracks and all that. Trapped in a narrow passage, the infamous death of Floyd Collins. What the thumbnail? Hold up, 'cause the thumbnail is crazy.
From the age of 6, William Floyd Collins had a passion for caving and
Yeah, I already know it. That's what it's called, caving.
exploration. His life work revolved around caves, and by 1918, he had opened his
Oh
own
yeah, that's what I was talking. The thumbnail that they said it was. They said he was stuck for 13 days.
caves on the grounds of his family farm.
Might see if that's true though.
Unfortunately for Floyd, his cave attracted little custom due to its remote location and heavy competition. This, however, did not deter him. This was his life's work and passion, and he wasn't about to roll over and let his competition win. For a year, he searched nearby farms to find the perfect cave, before eventually finding Sand Cave, on a farm not far from his own. After striking a deal with the farmer, he got to work transforming the cave. Little did he know, Floyd was essentially about to dig his own grave. What was to follow was one of the most famous and horrific deaths in caving history. So what happened to Floyd Collins in Sand Cave? This is the Sand Cave disaster,
Sand cave.
the infamous death of Floyd Collins. William Floyd Collins was born in Logan County, Kentucky on June the 20th, 1887. His parents Lee and Martha Jane Collins. Logan County, nestled in south-central Kentucky, boasts a rich history rooted in agriculture and rolling hills that house a portion of the most famous caves in the United States. His parents owned farmland right near Mammoth Cave. Mammoth Cave is a world-renowned natural wonder, recognized as the longest-known cave system globally, with more than 400 miles of explored passageways. The cave is a significant part of Kentucky's landscape.
400 miles. They be chirping, bro. That's mad far. Bro, they be going for like 2 hours, 3 hours just climbing like narrow passages. 400 miles is crazy. Like
Drawing visitors from around the world to its stunning underground formation. Floyd was only 6 years old when he first stepped in Mammoth Cave. He loved it. He loved exploring, finding new passageways, and going deeper and deeper into the cave.
6 years old in the cave. What? Who let him do that at 6?
As a young man, he would go searching for Native American artifacts, which he would then sell to tourists at the Mammoth Cave Hotel. Floyd was only 13 years old when he discovered his first cave, which would be named Donkey's Cave or Floyd Cave. The story goes, Floyd was ploughing on the hillside on land owned by his parents, when the mule pulling the plough unexpectedly fell through the ground, which is how he discovered the cave and why it was called Donkey's Cave. 2 years later, Floyd was hired by a geologist, Edmund Turner, to show him the different caves on his family's farm. Together, the two discovered many caves including Dossie's Dome Cave and Great Onyx Cave. By the time Floyd was in his late teens, he was a very experienced caver, and his passion for finding new cave systems was immeasurable. However, his most prominent find wasn't until 1917, with the discovery of Crystal Cave. In September of 1917, Floyd was walking up a hill on his family farm when he noticed cool air coming from a hole in the ground below him. Floyd knew, from his experience of cave exploration, this could only mean one thing. There was a passage below him. Floyd got to work excavating the area, and in December of 1917, he found the entrance to the sinkhole, which he would name Great Crystal Cave. With caves becoming more and more of a popular tourist attraction, Floyd along with his parents hatched a plan. They decided to put the work in and commercialise the cave. This was a whole family effort and took them almost half a year to complete, but by 1918, Floyd opened Great Crystal Cave to the public. But it didn't prove the
Wait, what? So he found the case, so it's basically his. They say he opened it to the public.
success that he thought it would. The family had poured a lot of money into commercialising Crystal Cave, and this was a major blow. The cave did see a few tourists, but the location was so remote that it wasn't worth coming for many people, especially with the more famous Mammoth Cave close by, and closer to the main road. Over the next few years, the already little amount of people that would visit Crystal
Like, bro, how they finding new caves? Like, You don't know what's in it. You don't know what type of holes you got crawled through yet. Like, they just be doing anything.
Cave would begin to dwindle. This was because by the early 1920s, other locals began seeking profits from the extensive cave systems within the state. Consequently, businessmen around the state began excavating their own show caves and promoted their own guide tours, so competition was increasing. This led to what is now known as the Kentucky Cave Wars, and Floyd wasn't about to be beaten by the others. He was, of course, disappointed by the lack of people visiting Crystal Cave, but this didn't deter him. Determined to succeed, he set his eyes on a new cave located on a nearby farm owned by a man named Beasley Doyle. It was the perfect spot. It was just before Mammoth Cave, and so close to the road that it was impossible to miss. Floyd spoke
Got him with that one.
to Beasley, and the two struck a deal. They would excavate the cave, expand, and commercialise it. They would then split the profits evenly. This cave would be named Sand Cave. Floyd began work at Sand Cave and started to expand. He explored the cave's narrow passageways on his own and would work for countless hours a day to turn Sand Cave into a tourism hotspot. He spent weeks making the cave
Boy going down there by himself, tripping. Gotta have people with you.
accessible, and he genuinely believed that it would be a massive success, attracting tourists from around the country. Floyd wasn't wrong. Sand Cave would become one of, if not the most famous cave in the States, but not for the reasons he had hoped. Not even close.
After enduring war and persecution, millions of refugees and displaced families are facing harsh winter weather right now.
He's saying he became famous because he died in it.
On the 30th of January, 1925, Floyd was finishing off a long day in the cave when his gas lamp that he had used before began to flicker. He knew it was time to leave and hastily began making his way to
See, look, he down there by like, come on, bro.
the cave's exit. Due to him being in a rush to leave before he would be plunged into darkness, he accidentally dropped his light in the process whilst in a tight section of a passage. He then went to pick it up, but misplaced his foot, which led a rock falling from the cave's ceiling. The rock fell onto Floyd's leg, pinning him in place.
That's what I'm saying. You don't know what can happen. You in the cave, like, it don't matter how experienced you is. Like, accidents and stuff happen. Like, if you have somebody with you, you probably could.
Additional rocks and gravel fell covering his body. He was now alone, in the dark, trapped in Sand Cave, with no help, and no one even knowing that he was down there. He remained there overnight. The day after, Beasley began to worry about Floyd after not hearing from him. Beasley then travelled to the cave to see if there was any sign of Floyd, and although he did not enter the cave fully, he did get within distance to learn that Floyd was trapped. He spoke with Floyd and ran to get help, which began the rescue operation. Floyd's brother Homer Collins, who was called to the scene, was small enough to make it to Floyd and was able to bring him food and water, which sustained him until rescue arrived. The first idea to get Floyd out of the cave consisted of a harness to pull him out. With 10 men, they yanked on the harness, but it was no use. This only injured Floyd, so they had to stop. The next
Yeah, they trying to pull him from the rocks. Nah, I bet them rocks big and heavy. Like, go rip his skin off.
idea was to dig around the rock that trapped his leg in hopes of moving it and freeing him. Just a few days after Floyd got stuck, his ordeal had made national news. Thousands of tourists flocked to Sand Cave in hopes of seeing him freed. For the moment, Sand Cave was perhaps the most popular cave in the world, with some saying there was over 50,000 people there at one time. Although
That's crazy. 50,000 people pulled up to the
electric
cave.
light was ran down the passage to provide Floyd some warmth, the cave was freezing cold, and Floyd lay in puddles of water. Sadly, then tragedy struck. The digging around the rock only led to the cave collapsing, which separated Floyd from his rescuers, so once again, they had to come up with a new idea to free him. They decided to dig a new shaft.
That's what I was thinking too, cause like if they hitting it from up top, when it falls, it's gonna like. I was thinking that.
Go straight down, but this would prove very difficult and time consuming, and time was running out. It wasn't until February the 16th that they had reached Floyd, but by then, he had sadly passed away. It was determined that he had likely died on February the 13th, meaning that he was alive and trapped there for 13 days. Reporter Skeeter Miller, who had managed to reach Floyd and interview him before the collapse, said, "My flashlight revealed a face on which is written suffering of many long hours. because Collins has been in agony every conscious moment since he was trapped at 10 o'clock Friday morning. A memorial service was held for Floyd on the surface near Sand Cave, but Floyd's body was not recovered for around another 2 months.
Yeah, man, that's crazy.
This was due to Homer being unhappy his brother was still in Sand Cave and digging a new tunnel opposite to Floyd to get him out. He was later laid to rest on the Collins family farm, but this story is far from over and was about to take a shocking, unexpected turn.
What?
In 1927, Lee Collins sold his farm to Dr. Harry Thomas, who owned caves in the nearby area. Once he owned the farm, he then dug up the body of Floyd, placed a glass coffin around him, and used it as a tourist attraction. Next to this was a plaque that stated, "Greatest cave explorer ever known." If this wasn't bizarre enough, 2 years later, on March the 18th, 1929, Floyd's body was stolen by a visitor, who was recovered by the police the same night in a nearby field.
Bro, what is wrong with people, bro? Like, people really do anything, like, how you still a dead, why are you still in a dead body for? Like, what's wrong with you?
Was stolen by a visitor, who was recovered by the police the same night in a nearby field, but his leg remained missing. The remains were then put in a chained casket and were displayed until 1961, when the National Park Service bought the cave and closed it down. To make it even worse, throughout this whole time, the Collins family had objected to his body being shown. They fought against it the entire time. Thankfully, he was properly laid to rest in Mammoth Cave Baptist Church Cemetery in
For
1980.
real though, that's crazy. This dude said they put his body in a glass casket and used that as a tourist attraction. That's I know they wasn't with that.
64 years after he had passed away. In Floyd's effort to be one of the most memorable cave explorers in the world, he certainly succeeded, although not for reasons that he or anyone ever could have imagined. A truly remarkable story. May he rest in peace. As always,
Yeah, man. Caving, man, he ain't worth it. I would never do that. Never even thought about it. Make sure y'all subscribe though.